So check your sitting position and try to get into a position that is comfortable, but also conducive for meditation. So what that means is trying to keep your back straight if you can, but let your shoulders relax. Don't have them tight, tense. And in fact, try to let all the parts of your body relax. So if you notice tension anywhere in your body, see if you can release it, let it go. Imagine that it disappears in space or sinks down into the earth, leaving your body as relaxed and free of tension as possible. You can have your eyes closed if you prefer, but doing that can lead to sleepiness. And we do want to stay awake when we're meditating. So one way to ensure that is keep the eyes open a little bit and have your gaze directed downwards onto your lap or the floor in front of you. So that way there's a little bit of light coming into the eyes, and that can help us to stay awake and alert. And before we go further into the meditation, let's make sure our motivation is as positive as possible. We always have some kind of motivation for the things that we do, even though we're not always aware of what our motivation is. So this is especially important when we're doing something spiritual like meditation. We want to make sure our motivation is positive, and the most positive motivation we could have is altruism, meaning we care about others and want to help others. We want to relieve their suffering, help them find genuine peace and happiness. And so take a few moments to generate such a motivation using whatever words, whatever thoughts help you to do that, and really try to make that from your heart, your genuine wish to benefit others and wanting to gain something through this meditation and through this session this morning that will help you to help others. So then for the next 15 minutes or so, we'll just meditate in silence. If you have a particular practice you are familiar with and wish to do, you can do that. Otherwise, if you're not sure what to do, rather simple, basic practice in Buddhism is meditating on the breathing. So you just breathe normally. Don't try to control your breathing. Just to let your body breathe as it normally does. And then with your mind, your awareness, pay attention to the breath as it's coming in and going out. And try to keep your mind focused on the breath, one breath after another. This isn't easy to do because thoughts come up, memories, plans for the future, or we get distracted by sounds that we hear and so on. So our mind gets pulled away from the breath to those other objects. It's completely normal. But when it happens, just try to notice that that has happened and let go of that other object, the thought or the sound, and return your awareness to your breathing. Come back to the breath. And even if you have to do this again and again and again, it's fine. It's okay. That's how we train our mind to stay focused or concentrated. And one thing that can help is to count the breaths. So one way of doing that is you can say to yourself, breathing in, breathing out, 1, breathing in, breathing out, 2, and then keep counting up to, you can go up to 5 if you're new to meditation, or you can go up to 10 if you're more experienced. And then just keep counting in rounds of either 5 or 10, starting again at 1 whenever you reach that number. So that's optional. You don't have to count, but it can give your mind more to do, and in that way, stay more focused on the breathing. So do the best you can to keep your mind in a positive, calm, and peaceful state during this period of time, and then we'll begin the guided meditation. So I'd like you to bring to mind an incident where you did feel genuine compassion. It may have been for someone close to you, like a family member or a friend or a pet, and you became aware that they were suffering in some way, physically or mentally or both, and you really cared about them, wanted to help them to relieve their suffering, and you were able to act wisely, skillfully, compassionately to help relieve their suffering. So bring that incident to mind. Try to remember it as clearly as possible. Now, bring to mind a different experience, one in which you had personal distress. So you may have observed or heard about the suffering of an individual person or a whole group of people, and you felt overwhelmed. Maybe the suffering was just so awful you couldn't bear to think about it. Or you may have felt helpless. You wanted to do something, but it seemed like there was nothing you could do. You didn't have the knowledge or skill or power to do anything. So try to bring to mind such an experience and recall it as clearly as possible. Now, check what differences you can notice between those two experiences. So you probably don't feel good about experiences of personal distress, but try not to feel bad about having such reactions. It's completely normal. We are not enlightened beings. We're not bodhisattvas who have trained in compassion and wisdom and skillful means for a really, really long time, even lifetimes. And they know how to avoid getting stuck in that state and act with genuine compassion. So we probably don't have that experience ourselves. So we need to be compassionate to ourselves, be kind to ourselves, and not beat ourselves up for personal distress and avoid feeling ashamed about that. So see if you can extend compassion to yourself for having such a reaction sometimes. And there are things we can do to emerge from personal distress and replace it with genuine compassion. So one thing we can do is to see things more realistically. Distress can happen due to an exaggerated sense of responsibility, as if our mind is saying, I should be able to eliminate everyone's suffering and get rid of all the problems in the world and make everything perfect and wonderful. And if I don't do that, I'm a failure. So it's a sense of thinking that we should be able to control the world and everything that happens. So check if your mind has that attitude and check if it's realistic to think that way. It's said that even a Buddha isn't able to make all suffering and problems disappear, because those are created due to sentient beings' ignorance, afflictions, and karma. And only those beings can get themselves out of this situation. Buddhas can show the way and help us on the way, but they can't do the work for us. So if even a Buddha is unable to eliminate all suffering, how can we expect that of ourselves? So see if you can accept that, accept your limitations, while knowing that you can change and learn to be more helpful. And then another thing to contemplate is that suffering and problems are a natural part of samsara, or unenlightened existence. So the Buddha pointed this out in his first teaching on the Four Noble Truths. The first is the truth of suffering, that every ordinary being experiences suffering of some kind or another. But suffering has causes, and by understanding these causes, we can eliminate them and thus eliminate suffering. So it's not something permanent, something that will be there forever and ever without end. It is possible to eliminate suffering, for suffering to come to an end. And finally, there's always something we can do to help those who are suffering, even if we're not able to help them immediately and physically. For example, if they're on the other side of the world. So some examples of things we can do are making donations to organizations that are able to help them. And we can also send our prayers and positive energy, like reciting mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum and dedicating it to those people, or praying to Buddha or Tara on their behalf. We can also use our creative energy to think of unique ways of expressing our compassion and helping those in need. So if we realize there are things we can do, even if they're small things like this, and we don't have to go anywhere, physically help those people, then we shouldn't feel helpless, powerless. There are things we can do. We can put our energy into doing those things. So, as a conclusion to the meditation, see if you can generate the determination to be on the lookout for personal distress and understand that it's not the same as genuine compassion. And then use some strategies like these or others to work on this feeling and be able to bring your mind back to a place of genuine compassion for yourself and for everyone else. And let's make a mental dedication of the energy, positive energy we've created during this meditation. Mentally dedicate this positive energy to all living beings, wishing all of them to be free of all their suffering and its causes, to achieve genuine happiness and its causes, all the way up to the highest happiness of enlightenment.